Hello and welcome to the Women in Motorsport program, F1 Academy race preview, Jeddah in a couple of weeks' time, plus Iron Dames, a successful weekend and a scary moment for Marta Garia. I'm Joe Samaniego. With me, we have Asia Bajwa from Chaos in the Paddock and Ben Schneider from Last Card Out Info and Grid Encore on Mondays right here on the Grid Network. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, and a big thank you to our Patreon investors. Calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew for investing in the Grid Network each and every month. You too can also invest through Patreon or a one-time through Buy Me a Coffee YouTube Super Chat. We'll thank you the next time we go on the air. Isha, Ben, let's just get started with the F1 Academy race weekend. Of course, we're going to be counting down to the race weekend over at Jeddah Street Circuit, which has gained a reputation as a high-speed, flowing corners. Second consecutive year, it'll be hosting the F1 Academy. And out of all the drivers, I think everyone's going to be looking at Dorian Pin, the points leader. Had this race swept last year until that penalty. She comes in ahead of Maya Woog, who got her first win late in the season in F1 Academy last year. And then, of course, Chloe Chambers, third, also has a win in F1 Academy. 6 of the 17 drivers, though, have yet to score points this year out of the first 2 races. One of those drivers who I felt like sort of got a lot of just bad luck and just misfortune, Tina Hausman. No points. Bad luck, including everyone remembered the radio communication before the second race. Work with your teammate and that first corner, or excuse me, a couple corners later, issues on that first lap. Overall, when it comes to this Jeddah, the track, the experience from last year when she was at this race, do you think that could help her get into the points, Isha?
Yes, definitely. And one thing that actually happened during the 4th to the 6th of April is they had an in-season test for F1 Academy. So every full-time driver was able to do some testing for 3 days at Jeddah. So right now, everyone has experience. Tina Hausman has more experience than these rookie drivers. I think she learned her lesson. She's going to work better with her teammates. And I think she can get into the points. One thing I'm very happy to see come back this season from 2023 is the inverted grid of race 1. So race 1 is going to be an inverted grid from P1 to P8. And the scoring is going to be F1 sprint score. So from 10 points for P1 going down into P8. So I think a lot of these drivers are going to have more opportunities to get points with this reverse grid format. Also, we are at a street track where it's going to be really hard to overtake. So qualifying is going to be very, very important. And with the test that just happened, I feel like all the drivers have that experience to qualify well for this Grand Prix. And I think the playing field for experience is kind of leveled out now, but more experience obviously is better than having little experience with these new rookie drivers.
Yeah, just looking back at her results from last year, I guess her F1 Academy debut, the opening race at Jeddah in 2024, she finished 6th, which is still to this day her second best result in an F1 Academy race. The only time she finished better than that was a 4th place result of the 3rd Abu Dhabi race to close last season. So she really bookended her season last year at the start and the end with 2 really solid runs. But if she can finish 6th at Jeddah, being on debut in her first ever race in this series, you add a year's worth of experience to that, and also the desire to come back from a weekend of bad luck and not picking up any points in Shanghai. I think that this is a recipe for success for her, no doubt. And then to Isha's point as well about the inverted grid, we'll see where she lines up for race 1 there. But if that puts her more towards the front, I think that's an even better opportunity for her to make the most of that. And you might even see her standing on the podium in race 1. Who knows? But great opportunity, I think, lies ahead for Tina Hausman for sure.
It'd be really great to see Tina have a good race weekend, just put everything from that first race weekend behind, because I feel such a long, yes, we know it's a shorter calendar compared to some of the other series, but still very early on to turn things around. Courtney Crone, 2 12th place finishes that last race weekend, of course, scoreless when it comes to points, but lot of potential. She's from the United States, has done plenty of sports car racing. Last year, she was the wild card driver in Miami. She has a very diverse background in sports cars, even motorcycles. She wears the number 7 in honor of Alan Kulwicki, her favorite driver, of course, the 1992 Cup Series champion in NASCAR. Ben, could points be a real good goal for her at Jeddah?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously because of a new format in race one, we've got only the top 8 scoring points there. So I suppose if you're on kind of that bubble in the 9th to 12th place kind of range, that might take away an opportunity in the first race. But the second race for sure, I think she's right on the cusp of breaking into the top 10. I think she was 11th in one of her wild card races last year, so came very close to getting points there. And again, if she can get into that top 8 in qualifying, and I think for race one in particular, that'll even lead to another even better opportunity for her. So I think again, that's kind of where she's been on the bubble so far. Again, it's only been I think 4 races total, but she's done here, so not a huge sample size to work with. But if she can just take it up a little bit, take that next step, I think that again, it's much like Tina, a great opportunity for her coming up in a little more than a week here.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ben. She definitely has the opportunity, the work ethic, and the skills to make it into the points in Jeddah. It's going to be dependent on where she qualifies. As we talked about last week, Jeddah is going to be, it's really fast. The turns are really, really smooth, as you said before, and it's going to be hard to overtake. As we mentioned in previous episodes, these Formula One Academy cars don't have push to pass, don't have DRS, so it's going to be pure overtaking power. And in a track like this, it's going to be a little bit hard. So she can definitely make it to the points. It's going to be definitely where she qualifies. It's going to depend on how she does in qualifying and how she performs in the race. But yeah, 100%, I think she could make it into the points.
Points very real, I think. As you all mentioned, that qualifying is going to be so important. Really, if you're in the top 8, you're in a good spot, because if you're the back half of the top 8, well, you're going to be in front of that sprint, that first race. If you're not, you're going to be towards the front. So it's going to be really good to see how everything all works out. Nina Gademan finished 10th in race 2 after spin on lap 1. Great recovery, get some points. That first race, such a heartbreak. The mechanical issues. You have the lead, lap and a half to go, lose that lead. Could have very well have gotten the win, for sure a podium, unless something crazy had occurred. And unfortunately, that mechanical issue was it. Last year, she was the wild card appearance driver in Zandvoort. She scored double points. Isha, she displayed great racing skill in race 1. I think it caught a lot of people, certainly caught me by surprise, because I was just thinking, I really thought the top 4 and further were just going to fall back. But she surprised me. Would she likely be a contender again in Jeddah for points and maybe a win?
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely in contention for points. We saw her great performance in race 1 in Shanghai, where she was able to get a great lead for every single restart that happened in Shanghai due to many cautions that happened there. Yeah, she's definitely able to get to the points. I don't know about a win, maybe for race 1 if there's another inverted grid and she qualifies in that P7, P8 spot. But for race 2, we have powerhouses like Dorian Pond, Maya Vug, Chloe Chambers, who I think will be ahead of Nina Gaiman in race 2. And again, like we said, that overtaking power in Jeddah is going to be really, really hard. So maybe a win for race 1. I don't know about a win for race 2.
Yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to Nina Gateman. She ran a fantastic race in race 1, and it was unfortunate that I guess it didn't end a couple of laps sooner than it did. Otherwise, it'd be a much different story for her. But they knew that she was there and that she was able to compete and hold the lead and fight for that win before her car let her down. So if she's given another opportunity like that, like you just said, if she qualifies 7th or 8th, that would be to her benefit in race 1. But given that that's where she was on qualifying speed in Shanghai, probably a little bit optimistic to predict a win, especially when you have the Dorian Penns and Maya Vugs of the world in the field for race 2, and we expect them to be starting up front, maybe even locking out the front row, those 2 drivers. I think race 1 is certainly going to be a better opportunity for her to win or stand on the podium. But I think points in both races is certainly on the cards for her and could be a great goal for her this upcoming weekend.
One thing I wanted to follow up on, she did have an incident during, I think, day 2 of testing in Jeddah, according to a statement released by Formula One. She is conscious and she's been transferred to the local hospital. So I just do want to mention that, yes, she's okay, but it's going to be, we do have a while before we are in Jeddah, but I just wanted to mention that, making sure she's okay. And yeah, if all things equal, all things are good. Yeah, she's definitely able to be in the points and a win for race 1.
And how often have we seen drivers overcome such incidents, injuries, and get a win because they sort of feel like, okay, I sort of know that limit. I could think of several, and be really interesting how she could respond. Hopefully, another great performance. Wow, I'm really going to be following is one driver, Lia Block, 2 top 10 finishes, both in ninth place. So of course she missed out on points for that first race with the top 8 only scoring. But last year, her very first race was right here at Jeddah with F1 Academy. 16th place in race 1, 11th in race 2. And we've seen her throughout the year develop from essentially off-road experience to now open wheel racing. Ben, is this the weekend where this is the first opportunity to view how much she has progressed as a driver in open wheel competition?
And just real quick, I want to follow up on Nina Gateman for a second. I had heard that the hospital trip was mostly precautionary and that she's in good shape to be ready for the race weekend. Is that correct, Isha?
Yes, it is. The F1 statement, the F1 Academy statement wasn't too long, but yes, I believe that.
So we're thankful that she's all right, and that was just a precautionary trip then.
Yes.
So she should be okay. All right, that's good to hear. Yeah. So for Lia Block, especially, and I think I remember saying on this show this time last year, like, don't let the 16th and 11th place results at Jeddah, be indicative of the pace that she showed right from the get go to start her F1 Academy career. And so not just for her, for any driver, I guess any sophomore driver in this series, this is going to be the first time that we're going back to a track that they have experience in. I mean, unless you count race 2 of every race weekend here, but for a second trip, for second set of 2 races, it's a brand new experience in that regard for her. And I think that it is absolutely going to be the first best opportunity. I mean, I think you can look at where she progressed throughout the year and can point out improvements that she made as she continued to gain more experience with this car and with this style of racing. But absolutely, this is a great test, to go back to a track that you have experience at before and compare how you ran this year or last year rather, compared to what she's going to run this year. I think, it's a great opportunity for her to go out and show what she can do.
Yeah, and I do want to mention with Lia Block, she had such great potential in Shanghai, but an unfortunate crash, and I believe FP2 kind of hindered her in qualifying. And I feel like this race can definitely show her pace and her ability in open wheel racing that we weren't able to see in Shanghai. So yes, like what Ben said before, for these sophomore racers, they definitely have the skills and the experience to be better than most of the rookies here. Yeah, I'm just excited to see her perform more. Hopefully she has better luck this week, because I'm excited to see her perform in a full race capacity.
Gonna be a lot of fun to follow. And of course, we still got a little over 6 days till the next F1 Academy race weekend at Jeddah. Let's switch over to sports car racing this past weekend where we had some big moments. 4 hours of Barcelona. After the 4 hours were all said and done, LMP2 class winner Jamie Chadwick and her co-drivers took the LMP2 class win, second overall in this race. She becomes the first female driver to win LMP2 class honors at her debut race in prototype sports car racing. Now, she has a history, and I believe, Ben, we've talked about this on this program, about the different types of race cars she has done. I recall from the W Series, which were the F3 Tattoos chassis cars. Then she signed with Williams. Jaguar, Formula E. No racing opportunities yet, but seat time. Then she went to Extreme E, which was new for us, off-road racing, electric off-road racing in some very remote areas. Then the last 2 years, Indy next. Got that win at Road America last year. Now sports cars and a win on her debut. Isha, could sports car racing be a good home for Jamie Chadwick, especially knowing that the sports car, we saw the big news about McLaren entering. It's growing in popularity. The golden age of sports car racing. Is this a good fit for her?
Yeah, definitely. I really think she found her footing in sports car racing. I would be sad to see her leave open car racer. She did so well in Indy Next and in the W Series. I feel like she'd be a really strong contender. Hopefully, she is in the talks for the McLaren WEC seats for McLaren. But yeah, I feel like she found her footing and she's gonna do great.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add there. Obviously, it's great to see her get a win and have so much success so early in this new chapter of her career. I will say, in terms of what Joe was talking about, maybe doing too much and wanting to focus more on one particular discipline, overlap between open wheel racing, single seaters, and sports car racing is hardly new in this sport. We see plenty of drivers, if they have an open wheel background, they'll come over at least to do the big races like Daytona or Le Mans. So I think it's good for her to diversify her portfolio in that regard. But sports car racing is really her true calling, and I mean, sounds like you can't even start any better than what she started with here in 2025. Then I think that would be great for her to go all in on that in the future here. But again, we'll see what her future career holds. I know she has plenty of connections all throughout the racing world now, so you never know when those might come back up. You don't want to burn bridges in this business because you just have no idea where life's going to take you. But I think that obviously the news that we got this week with a win in LMP2, very, very strong start for her, and I wish her nothing but the best.
For Jamie Chadwick, I was just thrilled to see this because she's done a lot. I think there's always been a lot of pressure being the first W Series champion, then repeat W Series champion. It just builds up. So I really was impressed to see her go out there, get the win, and start making a name for herself, hopefully in LMP2 in the European Le Mans Challenge. Of course, this was the first race for 2025. Along with Jamie Chadwick, we saw the Iron Dames score a big win, LMGT3 class win. Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gatton, and Celia Martin in the Porsche 911 claimed the class win. This program, we've covered him almost ever since we started this program. And to get this great of a start for the 2025 European Le Mans Championship, one win out of the 6 races, each of the last few years, wins and year champions contention. Could this be finally the Iron Dames year?
Yes, definitely. We have seen them for the past couple of years, and they definitely have the infrastructure and the skills as they were building up to win. And we definitely saw that with the previous win that just happened. Yes, I feel like the Iron Dames, it's their year. They're going after it. I'm so excited to see them in Le Mans this year in June. And yeah, I'm so happy that they are finally taking wins and showing that women can win and compete and fight for their win in this category. One thing I do want to know is, yes, one car did win. The car Marta Garia was driving, she was in the crash. She was actually in the lead as the crash was happening. So we'll talk about more about that crash later. But the fact that both cars were able to compete was pretty amazing.
Very amazing as you bring up about Marta Garia and that big crash. Of course, she is the 2023 F1 Academy Series champion. That was a very scary crash. 2 days in the hospital, but thankfully it was released. For folks that may have not seen it, she was driving down the AF course Ferrari, just clipped her from behind, and that just sent her right into a wall where there was a tire barrier. Maybe it was just at the start of the tire barrier, but just at a bad angle where she hit hard. And as she said in her Instagram, 21G impact. Vicious hit. Ben, how amazing is it to see how such a hard crash yet walk away? I think it speaks volume about the safety and the athletes that we have in these vehicles.
Yeah, it does. And, Joe, I know we were talking backstage before we started recording. I feel like, when I hear G forces and hear some of these numbers, thinking about Roman Grosjean at Bahrain 5 years ago, I think that was 67 Gs. Of course, everybody remembers Kenny Brack at Texas all those years ago, 214, just a staggering number. And obviously he was very badly hurt, and it in some ways ended his full-time career. But, the fact that he survived is absolutely nothing short of a miracle. I think sometimes when we hear numbers like that, we can forget that 21 Gs, while it's not nearly as strong of an impact as those incidents that other drivers have survived, is still an incredibly hard hit, an incredibly hard force on your body. So the fact that Marta Garcia was able to, be relatively speaking okay and on the way to recovery from this incident is, like you said, Joe, a true testament to the safety of these race cars and the safety of this sport, in this day and age. And we're also thankful for that and hope that she can make a full recovery and come back sooner rather than later. But certainly wishing her nothing but the best. She's got plenty of talent, as you mentioned, Joe. The former F1 Academy champion. She's been on a lot of people's radars, I think, for a long time in terms of seeing where her career's going to go and trying to find the right fit for her. So hopefully she can bounce back from this unfortunate start to her season and come back even stronger from here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was so happy to see her walking away from that crash because when I view it, it was one of those crashes that I had to look away from as someone who is a motorsport fan. I don't want to say I'm used to crashes, but crashes happen and you get a little immune to them. But seeing that big of a crash, I turned away, winced. Ugh, it was so horrible to see, and I'm so happy she was able to walk away, and I'm so happy that she's making a full recovery. I do have one anecdote though. I did post her Instagram post that we mentioned before. She actually liked my story of me reposting, and my first thought is, Queen, get better. Please get better, because that crash was intense. I'm happy she liked it, but please get better. And I know she's doing better and doing great. And one thing I also want to commend is the safety of these cars. In the past 20, 30 years, we have been really focusing on safety of these cars so we don't see accidents like we see with Jules Bianchi or other fatal crashes. We don't see them as often like we do in the past. Really, really good job, the engineers, and making sure everyone is safe, and marshals doing their jobs and all that stuff. It's really great to see someone walk away from a crash like that.
See them walk away. Yeah, we know some of it was probably the adrenaline. It was like, okay, I just went through this, and then to be held overnight for 2 nights, but to be clear to get back, it's just an amazing testament. And the drivers, they are so much of an athlete. I know sometimes people think, oh, you're just driving a car. No, the G forces experience, not just in crashes, but we know how F1 Cup Series, IndyCar experience a lot of G's lap after lap. Those neck muscles the drivers have to build up. And we see the scary crash. I know Ben and I have talked a lot about Isabella Robusto coming back from the concussion, then realizing there's not a lot of research about the female brain concussion that Isha Azim presented on this show last year. A lot of improvements, but still a lot more to go, keeping the sport safe and for everyone. One driver I want to switch over to is Katherine Legge. She's back in the news. News broke yesterday that Katherine Legge will make her return to NASCAR for at least 7 NASCAR starts. This includes a mix of Xfinity Series, Truck Series, and the Cup Series, some of the big notables. She's going to be in Rockingham next weekend, Ben. I think a lot of folks are excited to see Rockingham return back to the schedule. Katherine Legge there, I think will be great. A little bit more oval experience. But then the big one that really stood out, Mexico City for the Cup Series. She has raced in Mexico. Granted, it was 2006 and 2007 with the Champ cars, the old kart cars. But Ben, overall, Xfinity Series, Truck Series, Mexico City Road Course, the test play will see the Katherine Legge we've been seeing before, and especially more competitive compared to what everyone unfortunately saw in Phoenix with that 78 Live Fast Motorsport car.
Yeah, this is where her Cup debut should have been, or at COTA the week before. I know people were saying that they wanted to do it at COTA, they couldn't put the deal together in time. But as much as she has experience on the ovals, to an extent in IndyCar. I mean, we know she knows how to go fast. Obviously, she's the fastest woman in Indianapolis Motor Speedway qualifying history. She was the only one of the 4 Rahal cars that avoided the last row shootout in 2023. So, speed is not an issue when it comes to Katherine Legge. It's experience in this kind of full-body stock car that she simply doesn't have much of on the oval. So for her to get more of that in the Xfinity Series and have a chance to, kind of have a little bit of redemption in the Cup Series side of things at Mexico City, I think is a great opportunity for her. And again, I wish her nothing but the best here. I think she is going to be a little bit more competitive. I think obviously getting that oval experience in the Xfinity Series is a much better environment for her. And then who knows, it may lead to more Cup opportunities, but it does still remind me of the current ongoing conversations we're having about the approval process here. And again, I like what Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle had to say on their podcast. Just going back to speed being the issue again. We're at Bristol this week. I think the Truck Series, I don't know what the weather situation is. I think it might be going on right now as we're recording this. Do you really think like Katherine Legge's going to have an easier time in a Cup car at Bristol as opposed to a mile and a half like Las Vegas, or a short track like Martinsville where you're squeezing up to 40 cars on a tight little half-mile track? I mean, I understand that the speeds are a little bit slower, but again, I don't think that's the issue here when it comes to Katherine Legge. So I hope she gets another Cup opportunity on an oval, but again, I think if anything, it probably would have been better for her to wait a week from Phoenix and make her debut on a mile and a half. I think the road course still would have been the best option for her, so I'm glad she's getting that opportunity. But it does bring that conversation back into the limelight here, and I think it is something we need to continue to look at. But this is the approach that I'm glad to see Katherine Legge have the opportunity to take here, because I think long term it's going to lead to more success down the road for her.
Yeah, I still remember when I first years ago when Juan Montoya is coming to NASCAR. Juan Pablo Montoya, the former F1 driver, IndyCar driver. My first thought was, wait till he get to Martinsville. He is going to get bumped around all over the place like he's never experienced. Same reverse if you take a NASCAR driver up to something completely different, F1, IndyCar, or something. Especially in a road course, you are going to have a huge learning curve. We saw that with Jimmy Johnson in IndyCar. So this is definitely something I'm very excited to see, that especially Mexico City, if she has a decent car, because we know still, even though NASCAR, all the cars are supposedly equal, there's a lot of ways they're not. If she has a good car, I think she could have a solid finish, good finish. What I find really fascinating about Katherine Legge, considering we're talking about this is NASCAR's first time in Mexico, and I mentioned she raced in Mexico in 2006. Back in 2005, she was a test driver for Minardi F1, now V-Card. She's done kart. She's done IndyCar. She's done sports car racing. She did Formula E. She's been racing at the prime level for 20 years of motorsport. And at the same time, let's be honest, she has not had that much sponsorship. We know sponsorship gets you the full season. She hasn't had that many full season deals. But when she finds a ride, she seems to make that ride work, especially sports car racing. Bring in new sponsors. Elf last year was very popular for their role and their presence in motorsports. Isha, how much does this say about her career and her ability to make a deal and get on the track to compete?
I think this is just not a her issue. This is just a female issue. I feel like now, more than ever, we're seeing more women in motorsport, women in media like me, women posting more on social media, more female fans. And now we're making that push for more female drivers, more female representation on track. And in those previous years, people didn't want to take a chance on a female driver because they didn't know what they could do yet. And Katherine Legge, she was one of the first female drivers to race in a big pro series like this. I feel like now more than ever, we're seeing a lot more women and a lot more sponsorships for female drivers, like F1 Academy building women up the Formula Series, and more opportunities like Sophia Flores that we talked about last week in Indy Next, like all of these wonderful women that we've talked about before. And I feel like now we are seeing the opportunity of women in racing. So I feel like it's just a matter of timing in this case, because unfortunately she did start off earlier. She was a trailblazer, and when you are a trailblazer, you have to blaze the trail. And she did blaze the trail for all these new drivers who come up, and it was just an unfortunate timing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget she spent 10 years away from the Indianapolis 500. You know, she's obviously been back in recent years running all the ovals last year for Dale Coyne, but you know, it took her a long time to get back, to find those partnerships and find that funding and sponsorship to be able to come back to that race. And she's obviously had some success in sports car racing as well. But you know, to Isha's point, I think, you know, we are starting to see things change for the better. We're starting to see more women become involved in this sport throughout all different disciplines. Obviously, the F1 Academy and W Series have played a big part in that on the open wheel single seater side of things. But, you know, we've seen plenty of women in sports car racing now for the last several years continue to be trailblazers and improve representation in that part of the sport as well here. So, you know, I think what Katherine Legge has with Elf Cosmetics is a great partnership, and it's great to see them continue to be working together on this new NASCAR deal, and hopefully it turns into something beyond just this 7-race announcement. She can go out and have some decent runs. You know, just looking back again at her previous Xfinity starts, her best run was 14th in 2018 at Road America in a JD Motorsports car, which again, you know, no disrespect to JDM, but not exactly known as a powerhouse team in that series. So again, you know, I think I'm very excited to see what she's going to do in her road course starts here. But I think just getting the oval experience as well, you know, it sounds like she kind of wants to make this stock car experience the next chapter of her career. And, you know, that motorsport.com article saying that Charlotte's going to be one of her races. So it sounds like the 500 is not going to work out this year. I don't know if it would have worked out anyway, because it sounds like we're going to get a 34 car entry list. That's the number that we seem to be settling on. But who knows? You know, Kyle Larson says this may be the last time he does the double. He's only on a 2-year deal. If this goes well, especially, obviously last year didn't, you know, you never know what's going to happen in the sport. Maybe there's an opportunity for Elf to go all in on Katherine Legge doing a double of her own in 2026. You just never know. I don't know if that would garner as much media press and attention as Kyle Larson's did, obviously, because Larson is, you know, one of the greatest talents of our generation. He's doing it with the powerhouse in McLaren. I don't know if Katherine Legge would be able to find a team to be able to back her to that extent. But even just attempting one or both of those races, I think would be a tremendous story in and of itself. So we'll see where her career goes from here. But, you know, in terms of her stock car experience, this is a great day, great announcement for her. And I'm excited to see what she can do.
I would love to see Katherine Legge do the double, to be the first female driver to do the Indianapolis 500, the Coca-Cola 600. I feel this will be that would be a huge moment for the sport. And especially, we talked about, everyone remembers John Ray being the first person to do it. Then we had Robbie Gordon done it, Tony Stewart, and then Tony Stewart being able to complete both races in a very competitive manner. We saw Kurt Busch, great effort in the Indy 500, but then NASCAR, bad luck, I believe an engine issue, something mechanical took him out. Kyle Larson last year was disastrous. Hopefully the weather cooperates. We want to see what he could do, but if Katherine Legge could do that, that'd be a huge accomplishment. I think it really will. To consider how we saw women compete in the Indy 500, and that was sort of the only race they really competed in. Then we saw Lynn St. James doing some more races. To have a person to say, hey, I'm doing a diverse group of races, but now I'm doing the double, that would be fascinating. That would just be one that will, I think, really stand out out of all the doubles. If Katherine Legge or any female driver does that in the next few years, that would be super exciting. That'll be a one shining moment easily. With that said, Isha, I know we've had a lot of stories, from the past couple of weeks when it comes to your shining moment. Do you have one that stands out?
I have two shining moments. As we touched on before, Marta Garcia. I can't say this enough. I am so happy she's doing so great. But my shining moment, it's a little bit more funny. I posted on TikTok yesterday, I got canes. The only reason I got canes was for Tony Breidinger, who races in the NASCAR Truck Series. So she's my shining moment this week because she successfully got me to go try raising canes for the first time. And let me just say, it's really good. And it's just a testament to how sponsors can influence fans and people in motorsport to go spend their money on the sponsor. So sponsorships are a great way for companies and other people to promote their brand and make money. So it worked on me. So that's my one shining moment.
I remember as a kid just begging my parents to take me to a Golden Corral because they stepped up and sponsored Dave Blaney in 2011 with Tommy Baldwin's team. So it's worked for me for my entire life. I totally agree, Isha. And on that note, Elf Cosmetics, we were just talking about Katherine Legge, obviously, but I think that announcement that came out this week, that is my one shining moment. I know it's unfortunate, again, what happened in her Phoenix Cup debut. I think she took a lot of unfair criticism for that. I think, obviously, of course, not a great debut weekend and not a great result, but situation that wasn't entirely or even predominantly, like I said, her fault. I think she was kind of set up to fail, so to speak, with the circumstances that she was given. It was cool to see her out there and make history, first female driver in 7 years to make a Cup start. But I think Mexico City is going to be a real, much better opportunity for her to show what she can do. And hopefully, it comes back to the conversation of giving these drivers more practice time, not just, for drivers like Katherine Legge, but for young rookies as well. I think there's been a lot of good conversation that's come out of what started as an unfortunate situation. So the fact that Katherine herself now is going to get an opportunity for redemption later this year in NASCAR and just this upcoming weekend, I guess at Rockingham will be her first Xfinity start. That's my one shining moment, the announcement that we got this week.
Two great moments. My shining moment has to go to Jamie Chadwick getting that LMP2 win. We were all wondering what was going to happen this year because a lot of folks, especially after Road America, will she go to IndyCar? Will she spend a third year at Indy next? Sports car racing. Okay, let's see what happens. To get a win in your debut, I think that really just could build that confidence. And this is a good spot. This is where I could really focus. And with the Le Mans 24 hours, that's going to be one of the biggest races. She has to feel pretty good. And overall, I think Jamie Chadwick has really proven the kind of driver she is. To go in such a diverse history of driving from, like how we mentioned, the Extreme E, all really started from that W Series championship, where she is now. Very exciting opportunities for her. I see a very close honorable mention, the Iron Dames getting that win. First out of 6 races. If they could get more, they could probably claim that championship finally. That's been so elusive for them. With that said, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, sorry, Joe. Just one thing I forgot to follow up on. You mentioned Jamie Chadwick. Tomorrow, and it will probably be later today, I guess, for most people watching this, but contingent on getting the truck race in at Bristol, and it sounds like the weather's holding off for them. They're going to be able to do that. Raja Carruth and Jamie Chadwick are going to do a ride swap at Homestead, showcasing the new NASCAR EV model that they've been testing. And Raja's going to get behind the wheel of the Formula E car. Jamie's going to drive the stock car there. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But ride swaps for me is somebody who tries to keep an eye on all forms of motorsports. Love seeing, Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya do that back in the day. And then it led to Montoya coming over here full time in NASCAR just a few years later. So again, you never know where life's going to take you in this business. It may be a new, cool experience for both Raja and Jamie to get behind the wheel of both of those cars. So great things going on down there in Homestead as well.
Very well. Great. Glad you brought that up. Very exciting to see those two swap rides and electric vehicles at Homestead, Miami. We encourage everyone, be sure to tune in. We got Grid Life Pre-Race, Formula One, Bahrain, IndyCar Long Beach Grand Prix weekend. Going to be a big weekend, and then, of course, we're going to wrap it all up. Just a staggering 10-plus races this weekend. Of course, IMSA at Long Beach for the Grid Endurance Performance Index. 6 out of the 7 Grid Ranking Series running. So we're grateful World Rally Championship not running. So we did have 7 out of 7. We'll have a crazy long grid wrap up show, but we're gonna condense it down so we're not up all night talking about racing. And then of course the next night, Grid Encore, Ben will be on the air with Brandon. Grid tonight, Kobe, Josh, Matt back on the air, and then we'll do it all over again with NASCAR pre-race, and then there is no NASCAR next weekend because it's Easter. So totally forgot about that. So then we'll do it all over again with the Women in Motorsports program right here on YouTube. Very excited race weekend for everyone here. For Isha and Ben, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time and enjoy the races.